Semantics Pragmatics. This is Dr. Fahad bin Deheish. Today we are actually going to have lecture number 12. This lecture is actually a combination of two things: metaphors and idioms. They are related somehow, but they are also different. Let's see how. Metaphor is basically a figure of speech. I bet you are familiar with the word metaphor in the literature class or one of your literature classes, right? So if you are familiar with this, you would know that it is basically a figure of speech, okay, in which a word or a phrase is applied to an object or an action to which it's not literally applicable. So what does that mean? Basically kind of applying a word, okay, to an object or an action which is not literally possible, okay? I would say I have a broken heart, right? That's a metaphor. But your heart is basically kind of a muscle. It does not break. What does that mean? So it's basically, it's a metaphor. You're applying the word broken into heart as if your heart basically can like breaks down into pieces or scattered on the floor, okay? So many people think of a metaphor as a device for poetics or poetic people or authors of books or people of literature. So it's kind of specified for these people, but in reality it is not. And we, as just normal speakers, we use metaphors in everyday conversation. Metaphor is so embedded in our language that we do not notice most of it. It has a prominent place in our daily conversation, like I said. We use it when speaking about even common things or common ideas like time, for example. So we sometimes treat time just like money or any other things that have value. Okay. So let me ask you, what do you do with your time? You spend the time, you waste your time, you invest your time, you borrow some time, right? You lose your time. You notice that you're speaking about time as if you're speaking about money, because you spend your money, you waste your money, you invest your money, you lose your money, or you borrow your money, right? Correct? So yes, I can say you're wasting my time. You're wasting my time. Okay? So here I'm saying wasting, that's the metaphor. I apply the word wasting or the verb wasting on time, which is like literally you don't waste time. You don't take time and you waste it, right? This will save you hours, as if it would save me, you know, money or something. How do you spend time these days? Spend it like money? Yeah. You need to budget your time. Budget, like use it wisely, right? I have invested, you can say I have invested a lot of time in this project. For example, if you have a paper that you wrote or a model that you designed, you can say I have invested a lot of time in this project. استثمرت, I have invested. Okay, as if you're speaking about money again. He is living in borrowed time. And I bet someone might say this if someone is almost kind of so sick and he's dying, you can say he is living on borrowed time, as if this is like not really, you know, his time of strength, and basically he is fading away. Okay. So what is the basis for this metaphor that we treat time like money? Well, there is no similarity between time and money, as you can see. What brings these concepts together is the perception, what we have in our mind, that time is basically like a valuable commodity that can be gained or lost. Okay? So, there is no similarity between time and money, but because in our culture, and we share this also in other cultures, we perceive time as money. Okay, don't waste my time, as if I'm speaking about money. Don't waste my money. Okay, so that's how this metaphor comes about. Time is money. Okay. When we say time is money, we're speaking about a concept here. So we call this type of metaphor conceptual metaphor. Conceptual metaphor. And by conceptual metaphor, or the conceptual metaphor actually refers to the understanding of one idea in terms of another. We understand how we waste money, spend money, invest money, right? We understand that because we deal with it. It's something literal. But when we say time is money, we would say, aha, so I would think about time as if I'm thinking about money, or I would be treating time in my mind as if I'm treating money. And here comes the figurative sense in this word, or in this metaphor. Time is money. Time, figuratively, is money. Okay? This actually example, time is money, and other examples were brought into light by George Lakoff and Mark Johnson in their book, Metaphors We Live By, 1980. I urge you actually to check it out. It's a very fun book. Like it has a lot of metaphors that we use every day. One of the metaphors they used in that book, and it basically could be the first one they used in their book, was argument is war. So, now, when I say argument is war, I'm basically trying to understand argument in terms of my understanding of war, right? What do you do in the war? You attack, you lose the war, you win the war, right? You shoot someone down, you got shot, right? Okay. So, when we speak about arguments, we sometimes metaphorically refers to it as if we're speaking about war. Check out these examples. In our daily life or daily conversation, we might say, your claims are indefensible. They're indefensible. Indefensible, right? As if I'm speaking about a group of soldiers, or, you know, a wing of an army or something like that. He attacked every weak point in my argument. He attacked every weak point in my argument. Are we speaking about war or what? We're speaking about argument, but this is a metaphor. He attacked every weak point in my argument. His criticism were right on target. You know, in the war, okay, when you have a sniper, for example, you would have that sniper would have a target. If he shoots, okay, if he shoots and he hits the goal right in the target, okay, that's basically what you do in war, right? Metaphorically, we can also speak about arguments like that, and we say his criticism were right on target. So he hit it right there in the wanted point, or the wanted spot. See how this metaphor kind of play with your mind. You feel that you're speaking about war, but you're actually speaking about argument. Why? Because war or argument is war, and that's the metaphor. I've never won an argument with him, as if you've never won a battle with him. Never won an argument with him. He shut down all of my arguments. He shut down all of my arguments. Okay, that's again, shut down is basically a verb you usually see in a war context, not an argument context. But here, we're speaking about it metaphorically. He did not do any shooting in reality. So literally, there is no shooting. Metaphorically, yes, he was shooting, or he shut down all of my arguments. Okay? So basically, he answered, okay, or attacked, okay, or strongly responded to every one of my arguments, as if he shut them down one by one. You see how this metaphor relates to our daily conversation? So, argument is war. Another metaphor we just talked about is time is money. We spend time or save it, like we said. We invest time, we budget time. We sometimes run out of time, okay? As if you run out of money, okay? We can borrow time and we can spare time. Spare it, just save it. This is my spare time. I'll save it. I'll work hard, okay, this week, so I can have some spare time at the weekend, okay? So you may not consciously think of ideas, for example, as plants, but we actually we actually have this conceptual metaphor. Ideas are plants, okay? So when we think about ideas as plans, we allow, or that metaphor actually allows us to plant ideas, to watch them grow, and hope that they come into fruits at the end. Okay? So sometimes I say, I'm not hoping that you I'm not hoping that you follow me into this, but I'm only planting these ideas. So I'm just putting it in your mind. I'll let you think about it. Okay? They might grow. Okay? They might grow. Okay? And maybe they would come into results or fruits. Okay? So we're speaking about ideas as plants. Sometimes, for example, you have a friend, okay, and you're telling him about buying a new car, and you're telling him that SUVs are great cars and stuff like that. He might say, oh, I don't like SUVs. Please don't plant these ideas in my mind, okay? Like, don't put them in my mind. Don't let me think about them, okay? So, planting, huh? Ideas are plans. There is another conceptual metaphor, which is understanding is seeing. Understanding is seeing. That's why sometimes I can ask you, do you see my point? Do you see my point? And you can say, yeah, I see your point. I see your point, right? I see your point. You're not actually seeing any point. It's not right there. You don't see it with your eyes. It's not the sight that you're using, okay, here. It's your mind. But it's a metaphor. It's a metaphor. So you figuratively, metaphorically seeing my point, as if you're seeing it with your own eye. But actually you don't, there is no any point that you can look at and see, right? It's just a metaphor. Okay. Do you see my point in here? Okay. Do you see the whole picture? Okay. That's again a metaphor. Okay. So we spoke about conceptual metaphors. The other type of metaphors I want you to pay attention to today is a spatial metaphor. A spatial metaphor. Usually a spatial metaphor involves the use of words that are primarily associated with spatial orientation to talk about physical or psychological states. What is spatial? Spatial is from space. Now, if you're speaking about space, you're saying up, right? Up in the space or down in the space, right? So this is the space where I sit and talk, right? I have something up above me or below me, okay? The space around me. So we use actually spatial metaphors to reflect on our physical status or psychological states, okay? Usually with emotions now, usually if I'm happy, I'm thinking up. If I'm sad, I'm thinking down. I'm thinking down, okay? So I would say I'm feeling up. I'm feeling up. What does that mean? You're feeling up? It means I'm happy. I'm feeling up. See, so I'm using a spatial word, up, to reflect about my emotion. I can say I'm feeling down. Feeling down. That means I'm feeling bad. That boosted my spirits. It boosted my feelings, right? Boosted. Okay? Or you can say he fell in a depression. He fell in a depression, or he fell into a depression. What does that mean? When you fall, you're basically falling down. You never fall up, right? You fall down. So the direction here, where I'm going in space, is basically down. That means you know, it's kind of something sad, especially with depression. So you're falling into the depression, or you're falling in a depression. My spirit rose. When you rose, it's from rising. So when you rise, it goes up. The sun rose, it came up, right? Her spirit sank. Usually a boat would sink, and anything sinks, it goes down. Again, that's being sad. When you say, my spirit sank, or my spirits are sinking right now, it means I'm actually feeling, I'm becoming sad. You're in high spirits. You're in high spirits. High, again, high or up, all refer to being happy. He is feeling low, low. High, low. Low is basically sad. That gave me a lift, a lift, a lift, okay? That means it's a good thing, it's a happy thing. The depths depth of depression, any deep thing, depth, right, is basically kind of sad thing. That's when I speak about emotions, right? So I can use spatial metaphors like up, down, high, low, right? Height, depth, okay? Basically, rose, sank, or rise and sink, okay? All of these can refer to space in reality or literally, but I use them figuratively to talk about my emotions. Also, I can use spatial metaphors to speak about my physical health, or someone else's physical health, okay? Being healthy is actually being up. Being sick, okay, sick and death is basically down, okay? I can look at someone and I say, he is at the peak of health. Usually peak is the peak of the mountain, right? But I say, he is at the peak of the health, or at the peak of health. Okay, he's at the peak of health, as if I'm speaking about mountain, all right? The tip or the top of the mountain. That means he is actually in a good physical health or physical shape. On the other hand, I can say he is sinking fast. Again, sinking is like his health is going down, right? She rose from the dead, as if she was really like tired or sick, and she rose, okay? Any rising is basically her health is becoming better and better. I also can say she came down with the flu. You never come up with the flu, you came down. You come down with it. He is in top shape. Or I can say he's feeling under the weather, okay? So top or under, above. I can say he's above the clouds. That means he's feeling happy or healthy. Okay, he's feeling under the weather. Anything under is basically sad, ill, sick, and could be death too. Okay, so the basic or the basis for these spatial metaphors seem to be related to our physical experience. When you're basically unhappy or unhealthy, when you're sick, you usually becoming tired and inactive. And when you're tired and inactive, usually that involves that you lying down on your back, right? That basically it means you are just kind of relaxing, laying back in your like laying on your back, right? So basically, you physically, if you imagine someone who is tired, they're usually down. They're physically down if they're tired, if they're ill, if they're feeling down, if they're inactive. They're usually down. That makes sense. Why, when I say down, it means I'm tired, I'm not feeling good, okay? Because physically, this is what you do. You just lay down on your back. On the other hand, if you're happy, if you're in a good health, that correlates with energy and movement, being energetic and being in a hyper, okay? And usually, if you're happy, you're doing activities, you're basically standing in your feet, right? So you're physically up. So this makes sense. This makes sense. If you're ill and tired and sick, you lay down. If you are happy and in good health and active, You're basically on your feet, so you're standing up. You're standing up, okay? So enough with metaphors. Idioms is basically we said that the metaphor is basically applying one word or a phrase on an object or an action, right? An idiom is basically an expression, so it's kind of longer than just a word or a phrase. Whose meaning, it's an expression whose meaning cannot be derived directly from the string of words that make up that expression. If you look at an idiom, okay, and try to understand it word by word, you will not understand this idiom, okay? Kick the bucket. He kicked the bucket, right? Kicked the bucket, it means to die. But what's the correlation? What's the relationship here? Kick the bucket. I did not get, just looking at these words or string of words, I did not understand from the first time when I learned it that it meant someone who's dying or to die. Okay? Kick the bucket means to die. Okay? So, what's going on here? It's an idiom, it's an expression. The individual words will not actually give you the meaning of the idiom. Okay. If I say, for example, this is a piece of cake, it means it's easy to do. Okay? If an idea is completely off the wall, you may not be able to make heads or tails of it. It's off the wall. It's very kind of complicated. When you hit the books or when you hit the sack, you're not actually hitting anything. Okay, hit the books, you read or study. Hit the sack, you sleep. Okay, so you're not actually physically hitting anything. Your hand are not physically involved in lending someone a hand. Can you lend me a hand? You would say, yes, what can I do for you? You will not go and like detach your hand and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'll lend you my hand, right? It's just an expression. It's an idiom, like they say. Because what if that person did not return your hand to you, right? It's just a joke. Okay. So we said kick the bucket means to die. Fly off the handle, to lose one's temper, to become very angry. Okay. Spill the beans, to give away a secret or a surprise. If there is like a surprise party for your friend, and you just called him and you said, oh yeah, just get ready for the party tonight. And he would be like, what party? And you would say, oops, I just spilled the beans, right? I just told you something I was not supposed to tell you. Okay, I just gave away the secret. Or I just ruined the surprise. Red herring. Basically, red herring is a type of fish, but it means to introduce irrelevant argument. Okay, irrelevant argument. To give red herrings. Okay, red herring. Although an idiom is semantically like a single word, so kick the bucket is basically or semantically means to die, right? So one word. It does not function like one. So in the past, I don't say kick the bucketed because that would be ungrammatical, right? Instead, it functions to some degree as a normal sequence of grammatical words. So the past of kick the bucket is kicked the bucket. Kicked the bucket. Make sense? You see my point? Okay. Is it always like that? Like, is it always possible for us to change the idiom? Not really. There are some grammatical restrictions. A large number of idioms contain a verb and a noun, right? But although the verb might be placed in the past tense, kicked the bucket, past tense, the number of the noun can never be changed. I cannot say kicked the buckets, I cannot add an S, okay? We have, for example, spilled the beans. I cannot say spilled the bean. I cannot remove this S. Okay, I cannot say fly off the handles. That's just wrong. Kick the buckets. Put on good faces. Right? Like, it means kind of to smile and behave and like, you know. I cannot say put on good faces. Put on a good face, yes. Blow one's tops, like becoming crazy. I cannot say tops, but always one's top. Okay? Moving on. So we understood what a metaphor is. We understood what an idiom is. We took examples here, and we took examples there. Let's just summarize it. If I ask you, what's the difference between idioms and a metaphor? Okay. You might tell me that an idiom is basically an expression where the meaning of individual words, right, is not immediately apparent. So, it's an expression where the meaning is not immediately apparent from a literal interpretation of the words. Kick the bucket, kicked. I know what kicking is, and I know the bucket, but it's not what? It's not apparent. Spill the beans. Okay, I spilled the beans accidentally, but what does that mean? To reveal a secret, right? So the meaning cannot be understood directly from the meaning of the individual words. A metaphor, however, is a comparison made between A and B. Argument is war. Time is money. Right? Where you say A is basically B, even though that's not literally true. Okay? So we use it figuratively when we speak about metaphor. I hope this lecture was helpful and clear. And I'm looking forward, actually, to seeing you in our next lecture, lecture 13. Till that time, stay safe. Good luck. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.